Thank you. So nice to see you.
No, I didn't expect suddenly to be exposed in this manner.
Any reflections you want to share with us?
No, I've been drinking in what you've been, everything that has been said, and of course it resonates very much with the kind of work that we do in healing of memories across the world. What I was thinking about, I was watching a little bit of the Thomas Hubel stuff on collective trauma.
Yes.
And I was reflecting as well, of course, with Judith being here on you know, that we used to speak the growing field of social healing. So I think this issue of healing memories, social healing, collective trauma, there are a number of, I mean, ways in which it's being framed, but we're talking about the same thing. And I think it has within it, I was listening very carefully when my brother was talking about the role of shame as well, and how that plays itself out. So I need to sort of listen to the whole thing again and reflect on it, rather than sort of say cheap and glib things. But I'm immensely valued the conversation. And I think, like, and when my sister, she's gone off now. How do you say her name? The last speaker.
Belvy Rooks.
Yeah, I mean, I was also looking for my handkerchief. It was incredibly powerful what she had to share. And I think especially when she came to the issue of the Confederate soldiers, and I was thinking about that in the terms of South Africa as well, and how, in a sense, seeing the Confederate soldier as a child was transforming. You know, it's just a kid, you know.
Yeah.
Brought up with, you know, those beliefs. So I think that was, there are many things that were resonating. So I haven't got anything you know, clever to add, but just to say thank you. I don't know how I ended up on the mailing list, but I was grateful to be on it, and would love to reconnect in this group, because I think we do have things to say to each other across the experiences we have, you know, across the world, and having traveled the world for so many years. And thanks to and it's interesting in a way, COVID-19 has actually meant that in some ways there are more global connections that we could have had before that we didn't, because without COVID-19, probably we wouldn't be having this conversation in the way we're doing. I think the expression is that it's an ill wind that blows no good. So there is a beautiful global dimension to possibilities of conversation that people didn't have so much. We had to spend all that money on to go to Cyprus to meet, and now I just go to the lounge and click on.
Or Colombia. So, yeah. I think we met in Colombia also.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So and I was thinking of another brother who an Afrikaner brother who was part of when Tony was speaking, who was part of a Afrikaner right-wing hate group.
AWB.
Not the AWB, another extremist, a smaller extremist group, and he, at the age of about 17, was responsible for killing a lot of people, blowing up on a Christmas bombing. But also he traveled his own journey of healing as well, a long journey, 12 years in prison, and in fact it was another guy who was in prison for a very long time for a lot of killings, who helped confront him with his racism. So it was one kind of very damaged human being who helped to heal another, damaged human being. So I think that, and now he's an evangelist with his own people, not in a narrow religious sense of an evangelist, but trying to confront his own people. Again, with what hatred does, as well. Yeah. So yeah, just a few off the top. Having been found out, those are just my comments, and look forward to being part of further conversations.
Mm-hmm.
If I could just comment on a piece of that, about seeing the Confederate soldier as a child, and I've listened to the stories of so many different men and women who have been drawn into violent extremism, that they really are wounded children. And I often say, when I look at them, or I look at, someone on TV, at Charlottesville or something like that, I see a wounded 4-year-old having a temper tantrum in a grown man's body. And it's very disarming to think of them that way. But I'm also cognizant of the fact that there can be sometimes nothing more dangerous than a wounded 4-year-old having a temper tantrum in a grown man's body.
Exactly. And there's a lot of evidence. In fact, from the US, if you go into a prison and interview the people who have done the worst things, 9 times out of 10, they were victims before they became perpetrators. 9 times out of 10. So in a sense, how you break that cycle. And interesting, in our work across the world, there are 2 dominant narratives. One is gender-based violence, in particular women against men, but not always. And the other is childhood trauma. So we do work with soldiers in the United States, a great deal of work. And some of them talk about what happened in combat, but a huge number of them talk about what happened to them as children. And sometimes joining the military was trying to quieten the demons as well, and the childhood trauma. So those things are very rare and relevant in every part of the globe. Yeah.
The University of Maryland has a program called START, the Study of Terrorism and Responses to Terrorism. And in research that they did, the #1 correlated factor in the history of someone joining a violent extremist group was childhood trauma. And that was like physical or sexual trauma. But you can have toxic shame without trauma, right? Abandonment, neglect. Those are they aren't what we necessarily classically consider trauma, but they have that deep psychological effect long after, and long after the scars have healed. It's that psychological, emotional trauma that is the result of the physical component that does the damage.
And like more in the United States, far more soldiers die at their own hands than die in combat. Epidemic of, and that's part of what unending war has done to the soul of the United States as well. But I think it's important, especially, the United States and South Africa both suffer from exceptionalism. We think we're damn well better than the rest of Africa. We're not. United States thinks it's damn well better than the rest of the world. It's damn well not. And hopefully COVID-19 might be quite a good lesson for that. And you can have the nuclear weapons, hasn't helped with COVID-19. But so I think in both our cases, it's about, come on, we need to rejoin the human family with a lot of humility.
Yes, thank you, Michael.
Michael. I just, for those who don't know Michael, he was a former chaplain for the ANC. He has a magnificent institute for the healing of memories. Can you just say in a second or two what the mission of that is?
Well, we're a social healing NGO that works globally. We seek to contribute to the healing journey of individuals, communities, and nations.
Throughout the world, right?
Throughout the world. And the key to that is breaking the chain that turns victims into victimizers. And a lot of it is about the journey of detoxifying. You know, people who have had terrible things done to them have every reason to be full of hatred, bitterness, desire for revenge. But there's a key moment when I discover that, yes, I'm justified, but it's not destroying my enemies, it's destroying me. And so that's the key moment, and then which all other things become possible. Because then I can begin the journey of letting out and letting go. And that's also breaks the chain of victims becoming victimizers. And of course, which is an intergenerational journey often as well. Yeah.
Reminds me of, I think it's the Dalai Lama talking about anger, you know, not healthy anger, which is temporary, but, you know, anger is like drinking a bottle of poison and wishing the other person to die.
Well, you see, but anger is a funny one, because I think, you see, anger gets us off our bums to fight for justice. The problem is if we stay angry, then it ends up consuming us.
Absolutely.
So, you know,
Healthy emotion.
Yeah, but it's what you do with it. It's what you do with it, you know. But if you stay there because of anger, then it will eat you alive. But anger is an issue. We would still have apartheid if we hadn't got angry. No?
Yeah.
So we needed, but you need to move beyond the anger against. It's moving also from what you're against to what you're for.
Yep.
And that's, you know, a vision of humanity.
Healthy emotions tend to be transitory, right? So anger as a transitory emotion and as a motivator is great. When they're not transitory, when anger is sitting there 24/7,
takes over. Yeah. Then you got to duck.
To be angered. Then it's rage.
Right. Yeah.
Good.
And I'd just like to say, since Judith started out in her opening about wounded healers versus wounders, that all of our discussants have had that. And certainly Michael, I mean, for those of you who don't know, Michael lost his arms in a bomb attempt on his life. And so he has every reason, you know, could have gone another route. And this is always a conscious choice. And Michael, it was Jerry and I who made sure that Jerry Dunphy and I made sure that you were with us today. But
thank you. Thank you. And it's nice being with you guys again.
Yeah.
But I think also the key to my healing is also that I was accompanied on my journey of healing. Because I think this is often, I think people often stay with their victimhood because people have not heard their pain has not been acknowledged. So I think the power of the collective is fundamental for the journey of healing. You know? And also people often wait for their pain to be acknowledged, and it's the acknowledgement that's also key as well.
I think holding on to the identity of victim is the most disempowering, one of the most disempowering things a human being.
But sometimes it's all people have. That's the problem. You know?
Yeah.
So they've got to see the possibilities of something else. But thank you guys for inviting me in.
Thank you for joining us. And I just want to echo your sentiments, Michael, about how this couldn't have happened except for the pandemic and, you know, our ability to use technology to bring all of us together today. So it's wonderful to have you here, and you will certainly hear from Global Citizen Circle again, and we hope that you'll stay involved.
Thank you.
You'll hear from me again too, Michael. It's so nice.
Thank you, Judith. Thank you, Don Priest. Thank you.
Glad you're here.
Thank you. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Okay.
All right.
Run away. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay. I am, unless anybody has the last word to say, I will end the meeting formally.
I just have a quick closing thing to say. I know there was a couple of questions that talked about, you know, children tell us the truth, and there's wisdom in children. That child is inside all of us. We still have that child with us. So it's not children that at a certain age. If we can connect to the children inside us, we get that same wisdom. And to just quickly comment on something Rosalie said in her experience was with angels. You know, just the person that gave her smoke so she could trade for food or whatever. And we all have the ability and the power to be angels. And so I challenge all of you is, how am I going to show up as an angel today, as an angel tomorrow, and as an angel every day?
Beautiful.
And you look like an angel too. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Tony. That was a perfect,
Yeah.
a perfect ending. And we look forward to being with all of you again in the future.
Wonderful day. Thank you.